CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris has now made himself available for us. Joins us from Washington. Steve, I do want to ask you regarding what we saw yesterday as the second meeting with business executives does continue. We did see the pullout from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but even as he signed that executive order, with this second meeting today, he certainly seems to be suggesting that big business has a seat at the table in the White House.
No question. We're seeing that with the auto executives. We saw that with business leaders yesterday. What's also interesting is he met with labor leaders yesterday as well, who came out after the meeting and said it was an excellent meeting, which is just very interesting for a Republican president to sit down with labor leaders and really have their ear and have them say such positive things about the meeting. It's going to be interesting to see how that moves forward. As we saw during the election, a lot of working class manufacturing areas voted for Donald Trump in the election. And so we'll see if that's going to be a long-term relationship with Trump or with the Republican Party or what. But that was an interesting development.
What is the impact of the withdrawal from the TTP, again, symbolic as it may be?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's mostly symbolic, as you said. They didn't really. He could just say, you know, it needs to be approved by Congress. It wasn't going to be approved by Congress. So this is him really keeping a campaign promise. He said during the campaign repeatedly he was going to look at trade, make it America-centric on trade issues, and railed on the TPP and said that he was going to not join it. And so he's really sort of preempting what Congress was going to do anyway.
I want to ask you about reports, still unconfirmed, I should mention, by CBS News. The president has asked FBI Director James Comey to remain in his role as director of the FBI. Again, this is a 10-year term that he is in the middle of. What should we take from this news?
Well, it's an interesting development in the sense that the FBI is investigating several things surrounding Donald Trump and people who are working with Donald Trump. So that's going on. There's also an internal investigation at the FBI about Comey's role and handling of the Hillary Clinton situation. And so, it's going to be interesting to watch this. It's clearly a move by Trump to show that he's got confidence in Comey. We saw the other day there was a friendly exchange between Comey and Trump in person. So at least for the time being, Trump is showing that he has confidence in Comey's leadership. We'll see how these investigations shake out and how that affects Comey moving forward.
After the meeting then does finish up between the president and these auto executives, policy agenda will return to the fore here. Another round of executive orders to be signed this morning at 11. Do we have any indication as to what it might be that the president is inking?
Well, I can tell you there were some things that we expected for him to do on day one, which he promised during the campaign. We haven't seen yet, but then they said yesterday, when we said day one, we meant we're going to roll these things out over the beginning of the administration. I think we're going to see something perhaps on Keystone Pipeline, making that happen, perhaps something related to immigration. We haven't seen him sign any executive actions on immigration yet, whether it's extreme vetting or sanctuary cities. This idea of a lobbying ban for people who worked in the administration and get out or worked on the campaign and are getting out. So I think things like that we'll see in the coming days in terms of executive actions.
Meanwhile, two cabinet picks have been confirmed, as well as the news late last night. Mike Pompeo sworn in as director of the CIA. Today, there are more hearings underway, including a second round of questioning faced by Congressman Tom Price, hoping to be the Health and Human Services Secretary. What to expect, do you think, from these hearings?
Well, especially with Price, this is his second. This is the Senate Finance Committee. This is going to be another round of questions about two things. One, his ideas for repealing and replacing Obamacare. We know he's been a vehement critic of Obamacare since the beginning and has ideas of how to replace that. So you're going to hear a lot of questions about that. But also his stock trades. We've seen some controversial stock trades in recent years regarding Price. There have been allegations that he has bought stock and then turned around and tried to implement legislation that would benefit those companies. There's another report out today in the Wall Street Journal about that. So I think he'll get a lot of questions about that, whether this is enough to derail him. Let's keep in mind there was a lot of criticism around Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State nominee, who wound up squeaking through a committee yesterday, even though there were a lot of questions about his nomination. I think it's going to take a lot for any of these nominees to be derailed at this point.
Steve Chaggaris there in Washington. Know you're keeping an eye on all things in a town newly busy. Steve, thank you.
Thanks, Josh.